First of all, we are in a nationwide pandemic. And of course, there's also the reoccurring nationwide pandemic of what? Racism. I just wanted to make this video for anyone who's working in public relations, social media management. Say you have your own brand, but you're not in position yet to be hiring a PR manager or a social media manager. This will pretty much help you figure out how to navigate through crises like COVID, like the current Black Lives Matter reoccurring movement, and how your brand voice and brand identity should be correlating with one another in order to communicate the proper message. What I've been noticing lately with a lot of small businesses on their Instagrams and just their social media platforms in general, one, they either haven't properly addressed either crisis properly, and two, they probably haven't just said anything about it in general, which is crazy. I'm currently working with the Airbnb host out of Baltimore, Maryland. So they approached me asking if I can just mainly promote their social media. So they just want social media promotion. Usually, when I work with the client, I offer full servicing, but they specifically just wanted social media promotion. So as a PR agent, it is important to have some type of communications background, something if you're going to be dealing with social media. Social media, when crises like this occur, it's important to know who you're communicating to and how you're communicating the message, whatever the message may be. What I've noticed a lot of these brands, their PR reps, social media managers haven't been tackling is what I like to call the ratchet method. The first step is to recognize there's a problem. Apply everything to the client I'm working with. My current client, being that there is a pandemic and a current race war happening in our country, they are a Black-owned Airbnb host, so they understand and realize there is an issue happening right now in our nation, and I, as a social media manager and PR agent, understand that. So that's step one, is recognizing. I could pull up some brands right now that haven't even recognized there's an issue right now onto their social media and see they haven't posted a thing about the Black Lives Matter movement, barely posted anything about the COVID pandemic. So the first step is just realizing there's an issue to begin with, okay? Assess the situation, figure out who you need to be speaking to and how you need to be speaking to them. So who you're speaking to and what the message is. So pretty much, like I said, my Airbnb client, we're speaking to mainly African Americans because most of their previous guests on their property have been African Americans. So we know we're speaking to African Americans and we know we need to address the pandemic. And a lot of these other brands, they haven't assessed either. They haven't said anything, knowing that mainly that their brand may be centered around African American culture, or their aesthetic is geared towards Black women. They try to emulate the image of a Black woman in their brand. So it would be beneficial to them, wouldn't you think, for them to make statements however they choose to, communications addressing the racial tensions that are going on currently. But no, they haven't done that. So that's what their PR rep sucks. Next, of course, is target. So your target audience, of course, figure out, is your target audience going to benefit from hearing this message at this time after you've assessed? Let's figure out who your target audience and range will be. It's communicate. So now you know who your target audience is. You've assessed what you want to say and you've recognized there's a problem. You need to see and figure out what method is best effective to send this message out to your audience, and that's through communication. So that can be either through email, press release, social media, email marketing, whatever your strategic communication plan is for your company. That is how you need to go about assessing the communication aspects of this step. So in my situation with my Airbnb client, since I'm mainly just doing social media, that's how I would be communicating the message to them. One of the initiatives that I created with them is that whoever stays in the Airbnb property, they will get an exclusive gift card to donate specifically to Black businesses around the area, right? So I made that post on the Instagram page and on the Facebook page, and that is our channel of communication. That's how we're communicating part of our support for the cause, for the Black Lives Matter movement. Next And this ratchet checklist is heed, and that just means to listen. Heed is just to listen to the people's needs before you send out this, this message. Understand that the current social climate is good timing for this message to go out. And the next in ratchet is the E. So that means evaluate. So as the crisis unfolds, as these race wars, riots, looting, etc. goes on, do you still feel like your message is going to be effective for the audience? So say you send it out. You sent out your flyer that you took your graphic designer to make, you posted your status, you sent your press release, you sent your emails out, so be it. Look at the response of these messages that you send out. So is what you put together during your assessment process appropriate? Are they responding to it the way you want it to? Is the response correlating with the initial communication goals? So that is something else you need to highly consider. With the Airbnb property, we had a lot of people very much so in support. They liked the idea of the gift card. They want to do it again. Part of the evaluation step. So it's going well. If it's not going well, you may want to start over and just reevaluate your audience, reevaluate what you're saying and how you're saying it, who you're saying it to. So T, which is transition. So after you've evaluated if your method of communications are working out great, if they're resolving your issues, you can now revert from crisis management mode back to your regular communication mode. If you feel as though it hasn't been effective, start over, go through the whole process again. So like I said, reevaluate who you're speaking to, what you're saying, how you're saying it, and how the people are receiving this message based upon your jurisdiction. Currently I'm working with an Airbnb client, and it's perfect to attach this client to the situation because they are a Black-owned Airbnb host. The host is Black. Most of their guests are Black. So it's just very fitting that the time they came to me, the George Floyd incident occurred, and what we see is this new age revolution. So it just worked perfectly in my eyes as a PR professional. I'm like, ooh, yes, let me do what I can do, because this is what PR people live for. We live for expressing a brand's concern and voice through history, through times of crisis when it's appropriate. It's all about perfect timing. So this is perfect timing. So once again, the ratchet method. Realize, recognize there is a problem. Step 1 with anything. Okay. 2, assess the situation. Assess what needs to be said, right? 3 is target. Target who needs to hear this message. Next up is to communicate. So what outlets are you using to communicate this message that you are in support of said cause? So whether that be social media, email marketing, a press release, whatever way your client or you choose to communicate with your audience. And of course, C, to listen. E, evaluate. So first, as the crisis unfolds, as your messaging is being sent out to your audience, is it effective? Are they responding positively? Are they responding